Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. I'm Wes Dove, and I'm excited today. I have the opportunity to host and introduce you to a friend of mine, Jason Cutter. Jason and I met one another several years ago. We were both involved in the Voices for Leadership Volume 1 edition of a book. Fantastic opportunity. And we knew one another from a distance there, but we've gotten to know one another better. We were at an initial authors retreat with Brian Brojan and a number of the folks that participated in that project and have developed a friendship since. And Jason is an absolute rock star in everything he touches. We were talking just before I hit the start button for the recording in the live session that we're doing about some of the things that I'm learning from him, just about clearing the noise and getting my shit together and so on. So Jason, before I butcher it more than I already have, talk about your professional background, the industry that you serve, and just whatever you want to share about who you are, and then we'll dig into some fun questions.
Well, that's always a kind of a big journey for me and a big discussion, and I'm super glad that we're here, and I'm glad that I can be a part of helping you in any way over the years and those kind of things, and I'm glad that I can be here and we can chat. I guess for me, I focus on sales leadership, marketing, and essentially anything business. And so there's different aspects that I'm focused on now. But over the years, I've been in sales and leadership roles in companies, small and large, consulted for years, went back into corporate life. And so I've done a lot around that. And the part that's fun and interesting for me is that my bachelor's degree is in marine biology from UC Santa Cruz. I spent years tagging sharks, which in my speaking and training is the punchline of how much I liked people growing up and how much I felt people liked me, was that I would rather be tagging sharks than dealing with people. Sharks, a 4,000-pound great white, 18-foot long when you're on a 21-foot boat. There's one dangerous end. You just be careful of the dangerous end and everything else will be all right as long as you stay in the boat. And to me, that's way better than dealing with people growing up as a result of, having two analytical parents that to this day still hate salespeople. I think most people actually hate salespeople that are gross and terrible, like, the boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street type of people. And so I really shied away from it and then ended up being drawn into it. I've run away several times. I've come back. Interestingly, I've never received 1 minute of sales training and I've never received 1 minute of leadership training as a part of working for a company where they said, here's how you sell, or here's how you should be leading. Like, it's all self-taught, trial and error, discovery on my own.
100%, Jason. I'm nodding. I'm loving the story about the sharks. And I loved most specifically what you just said about most people hate salespeople. I've got one very dear friend that his career has been in tool sales, specifically with concrete and fasteners in the construction industry. And his personality is that quintessential sales guy. You would almost expect a polyester suit but wait, there's more, right? The thing that I've seen about him is his heart is so big. And once folks get to know him, they know that he's going to back everything he does. Now, on the opposite side, I've got another great friend who absolutely loathes the idea of being in sales. And we had lunch just yesterday, but I've watched him be so effective at filling needs genuinely, authentically, and with the customer's best interest at heart, that he's a remarkable salesman. But that's never been what he's wanted to be called. He looks at, how do I fill customers' needs? How do I develop business? Whatever I do, but he won't be called a salesman. And it's such a weird connotation, because the reality is, just like leadership, and you and I've had this conversation so many times, sales is how do we take care of people? Leadership is how do we take care of people? They're one and the same.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because if we look at sales, unfortunately, sales has a terrible connotation. Anyone that thinks, no, sales is great, it's the greatest profession, people like salespeople, then look at what most salespeople's titles are, right? In the B2B world, it's account executive, business development rep. It's, all kinds of things other than the word sales, because people just don't like it. One of the challenges of sales is unregulated, right? So there's no barrier of entry. There's no requirements. There's no entrance exam. You just show up and you're a salesperson. You can do whatever you want, for good or evil, right? And most people default to their intentions of of what they want to succeed or what they need. And usually it's at the hands of other people. What I realized, because I never thought I was in sales. In fact, I was put in a sales role. I'm like, I could run a sales team, but I'm not in sales. I don't know anything about sales, even though I've been doing it for years. Because for me, I was just helping people. It was just service. I was in the mortgage business. I wasn't trying to sell somebody something. I was just trying to figure out what's the best thing for them so they could go buy a house or refinance. And so for me, I've always seen sales as service. And to your point about leadership, this is what's fascinating. And I wrote this in my first book, where really to be an amazing professional salesperson, like a professional being someone who actually cares about the other person enough to help them get results, you're actually a leader of that prospect. So you're leading them to the finish line. You're figuring out what they need, and you're saying, hey, follow me. I'm going to go here. Classic sales is gross and it's pushy and it's pushing people. Leading is pulling people along with you. And so if sales is really leadership, then leadership is really sales and persuasion in getting people to understand it and follow you. And so it's, like you said, it's literally the same thing in inverse.
Yeah, Cindy and I ask that question usually with groups, and inevitably, if we're with an entire organization, we'll say, "Hey, who in this room is in a leadership role?" And who raises their hands? The supervisors, the managers, the executives, the owners. The rest of the folks don't. I'm out, guys. I need all your hands up, because all of you have leadership responsibility, and that's to make an impact on the people that you serve. It's not about your title. And so, and we could go on for this for days. This is why I do a list of questions, Jason, to keep me on track.
All right.
ADHD is a real thing and so on. But it really builds. So you said this specifically, and I'm going to ask the question. My most recent book that I released in February 2025 was called Leading with Clear Purpose. And the second half of that was really designated about how we help our team members understand the purpose that drives them, why they get out of bed in the mornings, and connect it to what we do as an organization. Talk about the clear purpose that really drove you to accept that leadership responsibility for sales teams and how you serve your clients through that today.
Yeah, and you and I've talked about this, was so many companies don't have a clear mission, vision, values, purpose. Every company and every organization, right? If we think of every company, family, anybody, any organization has those things, whether they're stated or not. There's, like, if you step back far enough, you can see that. And I just, I'm not driven by money. I'm not that salesperson. It's like, I just need to close lots of deals and make money and put, that on the scoreboard. And it's like, so what does drive me? And years ago, I realized this, and I put together my own mission statement, which, with business and personal, I'm all the same me, right? Like, you've met me, like, I'm the same me. It doesn't matter. This is exactly who I am all the time. And so for me, my mission statement and what drives me every day is to facilitate transformation in three ways. One is to spark light bulb moments, to help underdogs win their game, whatever their game is, and to leave people better than I found them. And so for me, everything that I do and I'm driven to do is just in those aspects. If I can help you, great. If I can't help you, I'm going to send you somewhere else and help you in some other way and just leave you better than I found you. And I just love helping, because I'm a lifelong underdog, helping underdogs win their game in any way that I can. I don't like the top team or the top performer or the top company in the industry. I want to help everyone else, succeed. And I just love sparking light bulbs, whatever I can do to teach you, kind of like the music thing that we were talking about. Anything I can do to give some kind of nugget or get someone excited about something, that just makes me happy.
Yeah. So much of what you said is really the foundation for why we've developed a good friendship through this process, because a few months ago, we're with a group of business owners, our executive leadership elite think tank. And one of the ladies in that group says, I want to know what Wes and Cindy's goals are over the next several years. And it gave me so much fulfillment to know that we've watched their organizational growth over the last 3 months. Jason, that particular team has grown 50%. And it's just been wild to watch. And it's been a process to get there. But they have no earthly idea what our goals are. Our goals is, how do we serve them and make sure that they're growing? My goals don't matter to them. Them growing is my goal. And the rest takes care of itself. And we absolutely see that. So, yeah, I love every conversation you and I get to have.
And it's interesting too, right? Because if we talk about goals, like, it's important to have goals. If you don't have something to aim for, and then you're not going to hit it. You're not going to know if you hit it. And there's all this like mantras around, and you focus on leadership and development. So you got to have goals, but you also can't control outcomes. You can only control actions and activities. And so if you're driven by that purpose for the action and activities, the goal doesn't matter because you're just going to do it anyway. That's what I've had many a boss say. Well, if we hit this goal, I'm going to give you this money. I was like, I'm just going to do it anyway. Doesn't matter, right? Like I'm just going to put in the effort. And so, it's like, what are those goals? Well, I'm just doing it every day, right? There's no big grand goal. It's just right now in this moment.
Yeah. Well, and make no mistake, I'm a really, really high D if you're talking disc model of human behavior. So I've got goals all over the place. I've got, here's the specifics. The point being, our clients don't care about my goals. No. I need to care about their goals. They're working through, and oh, by the way, my goals do align with their goals. When they win, we win. That's the driven part there. Now, with that purpose as a foundation, talk a little bit about what you do professionally in the different aspects and who you really work to serve. Both you mentioned it back in the corporate world a bit, but you've got so many plates spinning. Talk about the clientele, the different folks that you are a huge blessing in their lives.
So, I've gone from running sales organizations, being in charge of sales and marketing, to consulting and focusing on sales. And then now in this moment, really just focused on helping people. What does that look like? A couple different avenues. One is, because of everything I've done with consulting, I had a podcast that was 5 days a week because I'm pretty crazy. Books, clients, all kinds of stuff. I built a really good team around me that helps. And so years ago, just realized like this could help other people. And so have basically this delegating, outsourcing team that helps people get stuff done. And they've helped you guys with, the things so you can focus on your mission and take care of that. And then also recently, I've really found an excitement and focus on business brokers. So business brokers, M&A, intermediaries, people who help somebody buy and sell a business. It's just fascinating because there's some really good professionals out there who just don't have enough let's say marketing, and it's something I can help them with. And really the fundamentals of all of it, it's really just about networking and connecting. So a lot of the things that I do business wise is networking and connecting the dots, introducing people, and then just letting that magic happen.
Yeah. Well, yet again, one more way we have common paths. Almost all of my day yesterday was invested, and I won't say spent, I'll say invested into how do I get to connect good people with good people. And it was not a day that I got a lot of things done off my list. I started very, very early, and I was away from my desk a lot, but I churned out some work. So that helps me with that high D and getting results, right? But most of it was how do I invest in other people? And at the end of the day, Cindy says, you've had a full day, but you've connected some really neat people with really neat people. So it was cool. Now, Jason, you talked about your values. You talked about your mission statement. And you're right. Statistically, I just finished up the manuscript. It'll be released in February 2026, a book called The Values Advantage. In that, I found a statistic that said that almost 80% of all organizations at a minimum have their values listed on their website or in their handbook and so on. But I can tell you from personal experience, very, very few have them permeated through the organization where the team members know what they are. More importantly, though, talk to me about how the clients you serve, the people that you interact with, experience your values. Maybe just one of your values, how you work to make sure that's modeled in what you do.
For me, a lot of the values around transformation and then persistence, integrity, obviously, one of them is authenticity. I wrote a book called Selling with Authentic Persuasion. So it's really hard to not be anything but authentic and real. And it either works or it doesn't work. It's not that I'm abrasive. It's just, I don't worry about playing political games. I don't worry about all that stuff. It's just, this is just me. You meet me at a conference, you meet me at home, I'm the same person. And so for me, like the transformation and the persistence is really anything is possible, and we will find a way to do anything. Like if there's something we want to do, I just feel like it's not even the glass is half full. It's completely full of options. We will find a way and we will make it happen. And then the transformation, right? So we're here. Where do we want to go? How do we transform? What does that look like? And then how do we just make sure with a high level of accountability that we're getting it done? And, that's usually not a shock, but I would say a surprise with people that I deal with, where they're not used to that level of accountability. They're not used to, like, you say you want to do something, let's do it. You want to write a book? Okay, let's go. Right. Like, then let's start tomorrow. Let's write the first chapter. Let's go. Right. And so, like, I just think anything is possible. And then I also move at a pretty high speed. So it's like, I want to launch a podcast. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to launch a podcast. Right. And I just, make things happen. And I think that's fun, because for a lot of people, they're thinking about things. They want to do things. They have ideas. They're not sure how to do it. And there was a really good book that I read years ago called Who Not How. And it's really, instead of like, how do I do something, who can help me do it? And again, that's where those connecting the dots really comes in.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I wear my darling bride out, and I tell people all the time, pray for Cindy if you're so inclined, because she needs it. Because I will have these ideas, and I can picture your wife saying, "Oh my gosh, yet again another thing." But we'll figure it out along the way. I don't need to know all the details. We're going to make some mistakes along the way. We'll get there. It's okay. I tell people I'm not that smart, but I'm willing to take a chance, and we'll figure it out. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think really there's a lot of value in speed, right, over perfection. Now, you don't want to be sloppy and messy, but if you want to do some things, let's do it. And then let's figure it out along the way, instead of planning every step. Funny side story. One of my very good friends, Oliver Catt, we would do like daily meetings, because he's also a consultant. So we would just do power hours and we talk about stuff. We thought of an idea. We wanted to launch a podcast together, and I already had 2 podcasts at the time. So I'm like, hey, let's do a 3rd podcast. Why not? And so we're in this meeting, and he's like, what are you doing? He could tell I was multitasking. He's like, oh, I just went on GoDaddy and I just bought the URL. He's like, we don't even, like, what are we even doing? I was like, I don't know, but I already bought the website. Like, we're just going to do this. And so, it's one of those things where you just got to go, right? Yeah. Take action and go.
Yeah. Before I go to the next real question, I've got to ask one that's kind of a sidebar. You mentioned the extreme accountability. And in my first book, What's Killing Your Profitability, I wrote a chapter that talked about setting high expectations and how that didn't push good people away. It actually draws good people to it. But without extreme accountability, and that was the chapter that followed, is how do we make sure that we have high accountability in the organization? Without that, it doesn't matter how high the expectations are. Talk to me about what you've seen in that process, the higher you've had that accountability, what that did for the folks, what kind of people it attracted, what kind of people it pushed away.
I have seen both sides, and I've dealt with both sides and the ramifications and consequences of both sides, the good and the not good, where you're absolutely correct. And if you're a part of an organization and you're a part of the hiring, and you can set the tone for what accountability looks like, and you can hold people accountable from the beginning, they know what they're opting in for. And then it's not a surprise of like, wait a second, I didn't know you were actually going to expect me to do things every day. And it's like, yes, actually, yeah, that's how this works. I once worked for an owner where he's like, if we could get 5 hours of work out of people a day, I would be happy. And I'm like, that sucks. Like, that's your goal, is to like get 5 out of 8 hours of actually working. So like, I think holding people accountable, and the right people want to be held accountable. The top performers out there, the people who want to achieve things, they want to be held accountable. They want feedback. They have the right ego, the right amount of ego, which is like, I'm confident, I know I can do it. And I'm not fragile. I can handle some feedback. I can make adjustments. I don't know everything. I don't need to know everything. This is, what I do. And so that's good. On the flip side of that, I've seen many organizations that I've been a part of where my peer in the organization, let's say at the executive level, they don't like me because I hold them accountable. We're in a meeting with the owner next week. Did you do that thing? Oh, no, we didn't do that thing. Okay, why not? And when are you going to do it? Because it affects the whole company, and it affects my part of the company. And because I don't play political games and I just call it like it is, it's like, you said you were going to do it. Why aren't you doing it? Like, let's do it. I said, if I don't do things, I'll own up to it. And that, will indicate really quickly if it's a healthy organization that believes in it or not, which always stems from the top down. Like, the ultimate top in the organization will set that and drive that as an organization. And I fundamentally believe, like, high performing organizations, teams, sports, anything like that, it's because they're okay holding people accountable in a transparent, authentic, empathetic way.
Earlier, you said, not motivated by money. I'm going to do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. And
Yeah.
talk to me about, though, how that translates over and what you've seen. Maybe not you. You can from personal perspective if you want, but in an organization where that accountability is not in place and the folks around are not held accountable and they're not performing, what do the high performers typically do?
So in those cases, if there's high performers on the team and everyone else is just not held accountable, my experience always, and this is mostly on the sales side, but it could be anything from service to operations, is they see that the others aren't being held to that standard. And then what happens is they feel like, okay, so what's acceptable is less. Very few people have their own internal drive to hold themselves to a really high standard while the rest of the team is mediocre and allowed to be mediocre. Most people will just start to drift down to the level of expectation on the team. And so their performance will drop. I've been in organizations like that before where I'm an employee and I just see everyone else and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to stop caring and I'm just basically going to give up as well. And I hated myself for it. But generally what happens is those people leave. The top performers in a mediocre organization will say, I'm going to take my ball and go play somewhere else on a team that will push me and let me be successful. So I don't need to be a big fish in a small pond of mediocre people.
Or they'll start their own business and be a competitor for that business.
It's what will happen, right? I think I can do this better than you guys. You guys aren't that good. I don't understand how you make this much money. I don't know how you're successful. I'll crush all of you. Just give me a chance. And that's what happens.
Yes, it is. Now, back to my regular programming. This is fun. My next question that I want, you've teed it up. So talk today about what you look for, whether it's an organization you're working for in corporate world or an organization you're serving. What are you looking for so you can make sure that your values align with their values?
It's really the vision and the understanding of where the organization or the individual is going, right? If it's on the client side or if it's an organization in general, is do they know where they're going and are they open and honest about where they're at and why they are where they are? For example, if they have a really good product, but they're terrible at sales and marketing, are they open to that and they know that that's kind of their flaw and they're looking for help in that area? Or do they think they're amazing and they're blaming other people, right? Do they take that accountability for where they are and in the ownership, right? Like the Jocko Willink extreme ownership side of like, this is where I'm at. This is all me, and this is where we are. That's what I'm looking for, because someone owns it. I joke about this all the time. I've joked about this for years. Of the 12 steps, the first step is always the hardest, which is admitting you have a problem and that you're powerless to do anything over it. Once you take care of that first step, I can help you with 2 through 12. And so it's really about someone who understands, this is where I'm at. This is why. This is what I need help with. Okay, let's go, right? Internal or external of an organization, then it's good because, okay, you're here. I can help you with this with my strengths. Game on. Let's go.
Yeah, you and I talked about that the other day. I mean, whether it's a client or an employer, I don't care how much you're going to pay me. If we can't work together and improve, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. I'm going to take my ball and go somewhere else.
Exactly.
It's not about the money. I need to make money to be able to make an impact on people. But the reality is there's a lot of ways to make money that don't involve beating my head against the wall.
So, 100%. Like I learned this years ago, life is too short to do things you hate, right? And things that feel pointless or feel like a struggle that shouldn't be a struggle, right? There's times where it's a struggle. There's difficult times in life and business, but then there's just like, what are we doing? Like, we're not going anywhere. And this is just like Groundhog's Day, but like not winning.
Yeah. It's not getting better. I don't know when you're on. No. I don't know how to miss the pothole.
This is not the day that I want to keep repeating over and over again. This is like in the movie Groundhog Day. It's like, no, stop this day.
Give me an example. You've been a blessing to a lot of people. You've seen tremendous results in what you do. Give me an example of where you've seen a tremendous impact in the community or the industry that you've been serving.
For me, I think one of the biggest things is leveraging how I was raised, leveraging what I learned in sales, leveraging the things that I then put in the book, is helping people who are in sales roles who hate the thought of sales, but ended up in a sales role, realize, going back to what we started about in the beginning, that sales is service, and sales is not about slick lines and things that you have to say to pressure someone into. It's not about manipulation. But if you do things the right way, and I will use that judgmental word, right, when you do things the right way as a salesperson, then you're really helping somebody accomplish something and get to a better place for themselves, whether you're selling them or not. And it's always fun to work with companies, organizations, individuals, anyone who's in a sales role, hates the thought of having to do bad stuff, but think that's what it takes to succeed. And then realizing that that's not it. The world dislikes that anyway. And then what they're truly looking for is certain things from that salesperson. And if you do that, then sales becomes a whole lot easier and more fun. And, goes back to my mission of, sparking those light bulbs and helping the underdogs win. That's really the fun part in what I do.
And I would go so far as to say when somebody connects those dots, they're finding meaning. They're getting fulfillment from what they're doing too.
Yeah.
It's not just a paycheck at that point.
Yeah, because then you're no longer selling a product or a service. You're realizing, like, I'm helping people. I realized this years ago, because everyone tries to put themselves in a box or tries to put me in a box. It's not B2C, business to consumer. It's not B2B. It's not enterprise. It's not retail. It's not this. It's not that. It's H to H, right? It's human to human. At the end of the day, it's one human salesperson trying to help a messy, scared, confused human with goals, which is the customer, potential customer, get to where they would rather be than where they currently are. And when you realize that, like, then it's just easy, right?
Yeah.
It's just something you're just doing to help somebody.
Yeah, you spoke just on the phone a couple of days ago with my friend Jordan. He owns an electrical contracting firm. When he bought the company, it was 10 employees, and they did backup power generators primarily when we met 10 years ago. And they've grown from like that 10 to almost 100 employees over that time. And he's always said, my purpose in doing all this, the reason I bought the business, is I want to help people grow into God's calling on their life. And we do that by providing XYZ service, in his case, backup power generation, now electrical contracting services, through doing those things. And it's just been so fun. And that's the part that I've respected. It's not about what we do. It's about how we help people through that process and fill those needs. And quite frankly, I've watched that be a big part of why he's really attracted a team of strong people over the years.
And what's interesting, if we tie this back to the beginning of our conversation about sales is leadership and leadership is sales, I keep bringing up sales and what excites me and the kind of the light bulbs I can turn on, but it's all the same, right? When you realize as a leader, your job is to help that other human get to where they want to be and accomplish the things they want in their life via whatever vehicle it is as a part of the team. It's the same thing. And if you focus on that, then everything else is simple, right? And everything else is adjacent to that. Versus a lot of leaders who are actually managers who are just trying to push, like gross salespeople, but they're just trying to push and micromanage people to do the task and make the widgets. Instead, it's like, if I just lead you and I pull you, I have a vision and I make it all about you, because it is all about you, you're going to want to succeed.
You baited me right there. The people really manage. I'm going to come back to that though in my final question. But before we get there, I want to hear you describe how your own values, how your own purpose has really pushed you, because you said, hey, I've never had it from an employer. I've had to pursue this on my own, the whole leadership, anything sales related. What's really driven you to invest your own time, your own energy, your own money into, I'm going to call it leadership growth, but you can call it sales growth. It's one and the same, to make sure that you are where you are today and you can effectively serve people.
I realized years ago that I loved reading and learning. I realized, like, and it came up in a weird way over years, because people always say, like, hey, what are your hobbies? I'm like, I study business and read business books for fun. And okay, well, what else do you do? Like, that's pretty much it. My brain can't stop thinking about business stuff. I've gotten better over the last couple of years because I've gotten intentional about turning it off or down. But I'm the kind of guy that I walk into an ice cream shop and I'm counting how many customers and how many scoops they have to sell per hour to make a successful business. That's just how my brain works. And so I realized years ago that everything I learn and read and study is things that go into my head. At some point I can use that to help somebody. Like even the thing that, the music thing that you and I have talked about that we can bring up here, is that's something I thought was crazy about me. And then I read about it in a book and I realized it is valuable. And then now I can share it with other people. And so for me, again, it goes back to my mission. If we look at my mission, it's to spark light bulb moments, help underdogs win their game, and leave people better than I found them. And so anything and everything that's a part of that is what drives me to learn, to grow, to have conversations, to be on this podcast. I don't know who this is going to help. It's fun for me. I appreciate you. And so, there's no specific call to action. Like I need to monetize our time together, just doing it. Right. And then trusting that, it's going to be valuable to someone out there. And so that's the kind of long answer to that's what drives me to just always be learning and growing and ultimately helping.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about it. It doesn't turn off. I can't turn it off either. Somebody asked me the other day, well, what do you read for fun when you're not studying what you do in your business and so on? I said, Jesus will come back before I read for fun. If I'm reading, it's how do I help people? How do I serve people? How do we grow more effective businesses? That's what I do for fun. That's what it's fun.
Yep.
So, the last formal question I'll ask you is really tied back to what you said about not supervising and managing, not just directing people. If you're talking with young professionals and they really want to advance their career specifically in leadership, what are you giving? What feedback are you giving?
Oh man, how much longer do we have on the show? Let's see.
As long as you want to take, brother.
The biggest thing on the light bulb moment side for leaders that has been the most impactful for years that I've shared is that humans only care about themselves. We as humans at our core are self-centered people. I was going to say monsters, but we are self-centered. We think we are the center of the universe. We all do. Now, there's people like you and I know your listeners and your network and all that stuff where they're doing good things for other people. At our core, we are self-centered. We think everything's about us. Here's a test. If you don't agree with me, you think I'm all about everyone else. When you're driving down the freeway and someone's in the lane going slower than you in front of you, how do you feel? You feel they're doing it wrong and they don't understand how important you are, or are you cool with it? Or at the grocery store, do you walk around thinking like, I'm an extra in that woman's shopping experience and let's just see how this goes? No, it's all about you and they're in your way, or you just need what you need. And so the biggest thing for leaders, the biggest thing for young people is to help them break away from that autopilot drive that everything is about them. And what happens is young leaders, especially ones who were a good performer in a role, got moved up into leadership, probably with very little leadership training. They just think, well, this is what I did to succeed. So this is what I'm going to tell everyone else to do to succeed. And this is what I'm going to hold them to. I like cash and prizes. So I'm going to think everyone else likes cash and prizes. So that's what I'm going to bribe everyone with the carrot and the stick. Right. And so they forget that everybody is different and everyone is focused on themselves. So for young leaders, old leaders, seasoned leaders, whatever you want to do, the biggest thing is to put in a process and a way to analyze everybody on the team and figure out what drives them. One of the biggest things I love teaching about that just shocks everybody, but it's really valuable, is things like the 5 love languages. Or if you want to talk about the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, which is the work safe one where physical touch is over here and we don't do that. But like fundamentally, like when you understand the 5 love languages and the fact that everyone has love and appreciation in a different source that maybe you realize, okay, that person needs something for themselves. And now I've got to meet them where they are, going back to, like Jordan's example and that kind of stuff. And so the biggest thing is treat other people the way they want to be treated, not the way you think they want to be treated, and then help support them in the way that they feel loved and appreciated. Game changer for leadership.
I love it. I love it. I could go into so many stories. I won't, but what a powerful answer. That was fantastic. Here's the unscripted question. What have I not asked you that I should?
No, I think you covered everything. I think all of that really covers it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think, the one part I would say that's missing in the world that makes the biggest impact, whether you're in sales, whether you're in leadership, whether you're a part of a team, like you said, with your example of having people raise their hand, are they a leader, and realizing like everyone's a leader. You could be a leader in your team, side by side with other people. You're a leader of a family in your community, whatever that is the one thing that's missing, completely missing, is listening to other people in conversations. Think about this. Think about the last time you talked to somebody where they actually listened and they didn't think about what they were going to say next. Because everyone, you can tell when they got that look where they're just waiting to say something and they've stopped listening a while ago. They're not checking their phone. They're not thinking about other stuff. Where someone is truly actively listening, they asked you a question because they were genuinely curious and they cared. And then they listened to you and they didn't make it about themselves, right? Think about how powerful that was, if you can even remember when that happened. If you can do that for other people in any capacity, family, life, sales, business, as a leader, it will be amazing to people because no one's doing it. And it's not just a technology thing. It's just a function as humans. We're just so self-centered. And so if you can peel yourself away and remember 2 ears, one mouth, and just ask a question and then just listen and with no intent, it will make a difference in all of your relationships.
Yeah. You make me better every time we get to hang out with one another. It's I wish we were in the Fort Myers area more often, or at least on the Gulf Coast where we're close enough to you to say, hey, let's catch up.
Definitely more towards the warmer side of the country versus the colder side. But yes, I wish we were closer.
Wow. Jason, wherever folks access this, I'm going to have links to Selling with Authentic Persuasion in the show notes. I'm going to have links to your podcast. I'm going to have links to your website in the show notes and so on, even to catch you on LinkedIn, because the folks that don't know you need to, and the folks that do know you but aren't accessing you need to. So, gosh, what a lot of value I've gotten. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Anything else you'd like to share before I wind it down?
No, Wes, I appreciate this. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of having me on here and have this conversation in our relationship. And I truly hope, it does something under there. My mentor, David Meltzer, he says it's about planting seeds, that for trees that you'll never see who sits underneath that tree. And so hopefully this goes out there and does that for us in the world.
100%. Thank you, sir. So if you're listening to this Leading at the Next Level podcast, first and foremost, thank you. Appreciate you being with us. And hopefully you got huge value from hearing Jason, because I always do. If you have a need for continuing education credits, specifically through the human resource community, Dove Development Consulting is an approved provider with both SHRM and HRCI. Our complete Leading at the Next Level program, gosh, I believe there's north of 170 lessons in there now that are all approved for credit. What we've got in the show notes, you can access a link that will give you a 14-day all access trial where we do at least one live lesson in that 14 days, but you'll have the full digital access within that as well, all with a new chat agent that will walk you through. You tell it what you need and it'll give you some list of lessons and so on. That gives you a 14-day trial at $1, and then you'll have like an 80% off if you choose to continue the monthly program after that. So hopefully it serves you. But again, the power will be in the other links to check out what Jason's got for you. If Cindy and I can serve you in any way, look forward to it. Make it a great day, guys. Jason, thanks again, brother. We appreciate you. God bless.
Thanks.